Okay, so it's taken me about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So, the edge of a millie field, pretty scraggly millies, but makes for a nice composition. You've got the cool colors in the background and coming nice and warm in the foreground. It's a bit bigger than a 6x8, so 7x9 if you go to the edge of the canvas. So what I try to do is block down the colors as quickly as possible. It's quite difficult because they change so rapidly. So with a pretty fat brush I try and block the colors down as quickly as possible, as quickly as I can. So I start in the dark areas, quite thin paint, then the hill, and then you could see me coming slowly forward, and then the sky later. I used to do the sky first, but I read somewhere that it's better to do it second, because then you match the sky to your landscape, not the other way around. And then I came with a smaller brush, just trying to add a little bit of flicks of detail here and there, but try not to remove the thick paint. So in the past, what I've done to try and get a lot of detail is I've actually thinned the paint or scraped the paint to get detail. But I'm now trying not to thin the paint, so the oil is still quite thick, which gives it a richer color. And then of course the trick is to know when to stop, because the light's changing so much. Just as you get all the right colors down, the light has changed and the colors are starting to change as well. So like when I first started painting, for example, this shadow in the grass only came a little bit across, and now of course it's moved almost all the way across. The tops of these millie leaves weren't really catching the sky color. You can see a bit of a grey blue sky color when I started painting, but towards the end they were starting to pick them up. So and I quite liked the effect as well, so I just put 1 or 2 flicks in there. Being a field painting, obviously it's very difficult to get much detail, so looking at it close up, it looks a bit of a mess, but when you go further away, hopefully it all comes together. And then of course, if the actual painting itself doesn't work out as a plein air painting, it's always nice to have this as a field sketch or field painting, which I can refer back to for my colors. Because even with the best modern photography, the cameras can never quite get the subtle nuances, in color. So that's, yeah. And of course the other reason why I paint here in the field is it helps you to observe nature, because you're here for 45 minutes, hour and a half, depending on how long your painting takes. So you really observe. So plein air painting, all plein air painters will tell you, is the more plein air painting you do, the better you actually get at interpreting your photos. And of course the other thing about plein air painting or painting in the field, what it does is, because the light's changing so much, you're forced to find techniques, because you're rushing, and it helps. It really helps you to find techniques that speed up your own work in the studio. And of course the last thing is to know when to stop. I mean, already I'm seeing something I missed, but if I start fiddling again now, I'll probably ruin it. So we're gonna call it a day. Matthew, thank you so much for filming, and yeah, happy painting.